So yesterday, Putin announced that he was recognizing the breakaway states of Ukraine as independent nations, and he authorized peacekeeping missions in Donetsk and Luhansk. It was formalized with a treaty to allow for Russian bases on disputed Ukrainian territory now. Overnight, it seemed like the Asian markets reacted pretty heavily to that. It also feels like one anomaly I saw was that the New Zealand markets didn't particularly seem affected by it. They're primarily trading in the Asiatic region, I suppose, so that makes sense. Markets took a dive today as well, not as badly as I thought it would. Maybe 1.5% on the Dow and S&P. It took a dip in the morning, and then Biden came out and talked at I think around 2 p.m. Eastern, announcing the first round of sanctions and releasing of strategic oil reserves, and that pumped the market a little bit before it dipped again after his talk. First round of sanctions is on, I think there's one holding company that took some sanctions, as well as a state-owned bank that is supposedly more insulated from sanctions anyway, as well as sanctions on American companies who do business with Donetsk and Luhansk, which I can't imagine is going to be major. Russia's probably pumping some economic activity into Donetsk and Luhansk, knowing that this was going to happen. So, one anecdote I heard is that the Russians are paying 3 times the pension of what Donetsk and Luhansk were currently getting. So, the old people are fine, I guess, except for the fact that their whole country is being shelled or whatever. But took a 1% dip overall for the day in the American markets. Palantir continues to drop. I think it's down in the 10s now. I think they took a 60-cent drop or something. But not the reaction that some people were hoping for. Some people like me were hoping for. But at the end of the day, a dip is a dip. So, at the end of the day, also, I don't think that Ukraine is going to get the support it needs. Some people who are not so worried about Donetsk and Luhansk are now worried about Kharkiv. There's this one YouTuber, his name is Johnny FD. He's sort of a digital nomad, I guess, living in Kiev, and he has some properties in Kharkiv, and usually puts on a good face and is likes to pretend that the people of Kiev aren't concerned. I think that outwardly the people of Ukraine aren't particularly concerned. They saw this on the horizon. They knew it was going to happen eventually. But FD was worried about starting to worry about his investment properties in Kharkiv. But overall, pretty calm mood in Kiev, supposedly. As if it hasn't been mentioned before, they're moving the embassy out of Lviv. So they previously moved it from Kiev to Lviv, and now they moved the Ukrainian embassy operations from Lviv to Poland. So they're moving even farther west. I still think that a full-scale invasion is going to happen at some point. But as always, we're going to have to see. Slow day on the Western Front, I suppose. Work is the same, you know. But at least with President's Day over, it sucks that I didn't get President's Day off, but with President's Day over and the markets back open, we get to see a little dip. that was a little comforting, I guess. I'm still expecting a pretty severe dip on the horizon, but we just haven't seen it yet. It's easy to be glib about these things, but I'm not particularly glib about the markets dipping. Some of my friends hold short-term puts, and they were pretty happy to take some profits today, but this isn't about today or tomorrow, or this is about the whole global order. So this is going to be a fairly long-term thing. I read some reports that Wagner Group is moving further into Africa. So I also see some people talking about how they're questioning whether or not trouble in Russia is really gonna be affecting the U.S. economy. But then you have to consider that Ukraine is 6th largest exporter of wheat, and one wheat harvest isn't going to break the American spirit, but without oil, it's going to be a real rough time. Oil futures keep rising as expected. I saw maybe a $1 increase on oil BBLs, so up to something like 92.40. But then you have to recognize that the whole economy is predicated on getting enough energy. The whole fertilizer economy is, if you look into like the Fritz Haber process, that's you need a lot of energy to keep that reaction going. So the fertilizer economy is going to be under pressure, and maybe wheat is okay, but fertilizer works for a lot of crops, not just wheat. And we're going to see some spillover into third world nations, and it's like, I think at least in the medium term, the food security in the U.S. is going to be okay, but it's a question of whether or not food security in places like Africa is going to be okay. Particularly if you look at the DRC, Democratic Republic of Congo. That's where the majority of the cobalt mining is happening, and you can't make stuff in tech these days without that cobalt. So the only thing holding up the S&P is Apple and the tech companies. So if we see greater supply costs in that sector, it's hard to see whether or not the tech giants can really put the S&P on their back. And if we have just a couple down quarters with Apple or those tech giants in the S&P, then we might see a much larger dip than we're seeing. It's also the case that the monetary, if you don't have anywhere else to park your money, well, maybe we don't see a stock market dip, but that doesn't mean we won't see a depression, I keep saying that we're in the second Great Depression and we just don't know it because the stock market's still up. And one of the biggest voting blocks in the U.S. is old people, and old people are relatively sheltered from if retirees don't have retirees aren't going to see the same layoffs that young people are going to see. They're only going to feel the pain when their 401ks drop below a certain point, and they're not going to be able to, withdraw that 4% year over year that they were expecting to. And then we might see some movement into fixed income assets. And so, this thing, in the short term, we're seeing, effects in the oil markets. We're seeing effects in the wheat markets. But in the long run, we're going to see a lot more action pretty much across the board if you can't get that oil. And we've basically, exhausted our monetary levers. Interest rates are practically zero in the eurozone. Real interest rates are, practically negative. And it's going to be a rough time. It's going to be a real rough time. But so far it's calm on the Eastern Front. But as with all things, we'll have to see. I'm not in the business of playing the everyday fluctuations. Things go up, things go down, but the broad picture says that things are headed for a steep cliff. That's what I believe anyway. Whether or not it's true, and only time can tell. The democratic process of the market is going to have to figure it out, but I just can't see things getting better from here. And I keep seeing reports that these sanctions aren't going to do anything for these Russian oligarchs. And so, with these sanctions, we're really just, we're ceding ground for nothing at all. It's just going to keep getting worse. And the people on the ground are already feeling it. So it's not like, people don't know it's bad, but it's just not reflected in the markets yet. And it's not like the money can go anywhere. It's not like we're going to see a mass exodus of capital from the U.S. markets, because China's got its own problems. Russia's, the social climate in anywhere else but America is not, it's not compatible, it's not feasible, it's not a good place for investment. And with China's economy slowing down, it's really a question of, where the capital should be allocated. I'm still long Palantir, because I think their technology is really gonna, if you're going to have to make some hard choices, you want to see where the decisions are made, you're going to want to see where the data is, you want to see all of those things. But other than that, the tech sector more broadly is going to start bleeding capital. I can't tell you for certain when it's going to happen, but I do believe that it is going to happen. And it's going to happen fairly soon. I don't think the people can put up with this very much longer.